All right. Good morning from my end of the world, and good evening to you guys over there in the US. Robert, you look like you're just about to fall asleep at the table. No, that's concentration face. I get it.
No, no, I'm just looking. I'm just looking
He's
at my
just looking.
charts.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So, just so everyone knows, welcome to chart delineation practice for today. I had, as I said in the email that we sent out, I had one of the students from Astro College message me via WhatsApp, sort of saying, "Look, I've been trying to do some of the horse racing. What am I doing wrong? I'm not quite getting it all right." And this is somebody who knows and has done some of the education on this side of it. As we know, with all of these things, we can't guarantee we're going to pick winners all the time. And this is the thing. Like I started out, just so everyone knows, how would I put it? Testing astrology to see if it had a physical effect on the outcome of events. And what I found was, yes, it did. And how I found out originally was because a lot of these, I call it, I had to look for an event that I knew in advance when it was going to happen, where it was going to happen. There was a short duration and had an outcome. And the only thing I could think of was a horse race. So going back to the 1990s, I started looking at it and working at it from a planetary energy point of view. I look specifically for things like this planet sitting on the midheaven. You can see here in race 11, we're going to have Venus sitting on the midheaven, but the midheaven is just moving past where Venus is, and it's moving away from it. And I looked at things like that, and I found that after picking 10 winners in a row, I thought, wow, I cracked the Da Vinci Code of this. I'm going to make a lot of money. And then the next one failed. And funnily enough, the next one that failed was a Venus on the midheaven planet. So just don't take notice of that right now on its own. So that's sort of where it all started. And what's happened since is about 6 years ago, Robert came to one of my presentations at the IAA at the time, which we had a pretty big turnout for. And I went through and explained how all this worked. He then contacted me afterwards and said, "Can you help me with this? I want to try and, pick race after race." And I said, "That's nearly impossible. It's really hard." And to be honest, it probably is still nearly impossible. It's really hard. But because you've got all the energies working against each other, you've got horses, you've got multiple names, you've got multiple situations, and you've got things that change time wise. But what we have managed to do is use the principles of what we understand astrologically and honed in quite well. So more recently, I think we sat together, everyone, and we did the Preakness Stakes. Was that the one? Was that the one that
Oh,
had Napoleon solo win? Was that the one?
oh yeah, I think we started with Kentucky Derby.
Was it Kentucky? Yeah, no, but which one had Napoleon solo win? Which one was that?
That was the
That,
Preakness. No, that was
that's the
Kentucky.
Preakness.
That was the Preakness. Yeah.
That was the Preakness. Okay. In that particular one, we all sat around, Robert and Barbie and I, and we'd sort of done our bits and pieces, and we went through. And I had my reasoning from the charts and how I read them as to why I picked Napoleon solo, was probably not the most likely one to win, and it did win. I saw other astrologers online say particular horses were going to win, and these are fairly well-known astrologers. Oh wow, look at this, a big race coming up. And I know some of them got last place and a few things. And yes, that happens to me occasionally as well. But based on what we understand and how the principles work, we can generally hone in. And I got to say, I'm getting better at it over time. Robert and I often have been, looking and trying to get, say, for example, pick six in a row. We've had a very consistent, 4 out of 6 with 2 seconds, but we haven't quite had the cigar, have we, Robert? So
Not
not
yet.
not not yet, but we're doing okay.
It's right on the table. I'm just waiting to light it and smoke it.
It's sitting on the table. But anyway, that's okay. It's, as I said, this is not a way of this is not a way of encouraging people to gamble. We're not guaranteeing we're going to pick winners, but we're going to show you the astrological techniques we use in order to do it. Now, part of this today was the idea of getting in, and we've more recently involved Barbie because she's such a good vibrational astrologer and very conversed at that particular branch of astrology. And what we did was we invited her to come along and have a look at some of the races. And some of the things that showed up vibrationally were very, very significant. They sort of threw a different angle and a different light on things that sometimes which we might be stumped, Robert and I, and it worked very, very well. So sometimes it's a bit like most. Sometimes it's been a little bit out, but at the same time, it indicates another layer, which is can either, like adding in more asteroids and planets and this, it can either hone in on something, or sometimes it can complicate things and make it a little bit more complicated. But either way, this is part of what we're doing. So we're going to introduce a couple of different techniques. I'm not going to, what's the word for it? We're going to be fairly quick today. If Robert and Barbie need to stay on, they can, but I've got to get to a meeting, an FAA meeting in Adelaide today, which is about 2 hours drive for me. And I've got to be there at 1 o'clock, which is I've got an hour and 15 minutes on this as a max. Actually, probably got about an hour for me. And then you guys can finish it off. So what I was going to say is Robert is also versed in Uranian astrology. So he tends to use, you've got a chart here. For those that don't know, he will tend to look heavily at the dial like this. So taking into account things like the Aries point, the 0 point of Aries, or the 0 point of the chart, you see it goes around the 30, 60, the 90 degree dial, and look at things like the midheaven position, and you can see there the midheaven's being aspected by, that must be Mercury. Uranus, Venus, Mercury, and Saturn. And in this particular race 7, these will be sorts of things that Robert will analyse, and he can talk about that in a minute. Now, what I'm just going to quickly describe is some of the principles of which happens. And then we'll get into looking at how we divulge and work it out. But generally speaking, when I look at a chart for a horse race, there's a couple of things. What I'm looking for, and my techniques are, planets close or associated to the midheaven are really important. These are things to just note. This is not a PowerPoint, so you may need to take notes, Roz, especially. Looking at planets close to it. I also have a list of planets which are more influential in that position. And if I put them in a perspective, it's the faster turning planets. So what that means is that Venus is the slowest moving planet of all. So it takes 243 days to go through a day cycle. So the fast moving planets are Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And they spin much faster, and therefore are in a prominent position, tend to be quite influential. The Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Pluto tend to not be so influential, believe it or not. And when I say that, on their own, that's the difference. So the Moon, because it is such a powerful component of our solar system, especially for us on Earth, Moon tends to amplify or give energy to other planets it's associated to or aspecting. That's what it does very, very well. So let's just say that the Moon here was a little bit earlier in the day and it was exactly on 9 degrees with Mars, or just about to, especially if the Moon is approaching, even more powerful. And when it's exact, obviously the most powerful, then I would be looking at any chart, doesn't matter where it is, that the Moon will be amplifying Mars and making Mars, because Mars has a double strength, you could say. It will be powerful by speed, as in its rotation, and it'll be powerful because the Moon is conjuncted. Where it is now, the Moon's separating from it. So it's not actually really giving it as much energy as it should or could. And if you look at the midheaven here, you've got 2 degrees and 55 minutes. So the other thing that tends to be the case is planets that are hitting the midheaven by exact degree. That's another thing that really works very powerfully, I find. So even if it's, see Jupiter here at 2 degrees 30. Now, that midheaven has just gone past, you could say, just gone past Venus. And it's because it's 55, it's just gone past its aspect to Jupiter as well. So it's moving away, and it will move very quickly. So in 4 minutes, in other words, sometimes for the length of a race, it will actually move a whole degree away from that particular point. So it's moving faster. The other thing to take into account if you're looking at midheaven planets, if the midheaven is before the planet, then it has more time. The reason you take that into consideration is there is often a situation, and we've had it happen with us, and that happened with one of the races that we were involved in recently, Barbie, Robert, and I, is that a race can get delayed. I think this year's Kentucky Derby was delayed by about 10 or 15 minutes. And in that time, the midheaven changed sign altogether, which means the whole race winner and its context completely changed and absolutely sort of gazumped, and it didn't work. So those sorts of things are really important, especially when something's at, say, at 29 degrees. You know it's going to change during the race. And I think we've got one of those here. If I go to race 11 today, am I right? No, maybe it was race 8, race 9. Or was it? I don't know, maybe I got it wrong. I thought there was one. It was literally at 29 degrees, or I can't remember. Oh no, that was another one I was looking at altogether. So the point is, we're looking at this. We're looking at aspects to the midheaven. We're looking at planetary aspects very close. So in this particular case, this Jupiter is very influential, even though it's only at a 30-degree angle, because they're exactly 2 degrees and 20 minutes and 2 degrees and 30 minutes. This is also at 2 degrees here. Now remember, at the moment, we have all these planets at 4 degrees. This is really significant as well because they're all blending energies, and it makes it a little bit harder to identify or pick a specific winner. All right, so they're things to look at, and these become important. Some people don't believe in, we're just talking about it, in midpoints, but I can tell you now, not that one. Where is it? What am I looking for? No, is it reports? Why am I losing the plot? Yes, it is reports. So midpoints, though, to me, are also very important. So if you're looking at the midheaven here, we have a Mercury-Saturn midpoint. We also have a Jupiter-Neptune midpoint, and we have a Sun-Saturn midpoint. Now, these were the things that were sort of, I think, showing up in Robert's 90-degree dial as well. But when I say midpoint, these ones with a D are more direct. They're right on. So for those who don't understand midpoints, let me just give you a quick example. Neptune, Uranus, Pluto. Look, it's nearly exact. And this is why that's having a big influence right now, especially globally. And if I get out of here, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the midpoint being Neptune, it's showing that Neptune here, just down here, is right at the midpoint, the halfway point between Uranus and Pluto. So it's literally sitting right at that halfway point between the two. If that happens to be between planets and the midheaven, they have a very big influence on the outcome of that particular event and the potential winner. So what we first do is I do anyway, is I take the horse race and I break it down into particular names of the races, of the horses, and then I interpret that. I often use little Rexy Bill's book here, but at the same time, he also gets it wrong, and I could explain some of that as well. So I think there was one here today, where I was looking at it going, no, I think that's more Mercury. I'll tell you what the horse is when I come across it anyway, a bit later on. That's what it is. Their weight list. Who would think list was Jupiter? Would anyone know list was Jupiter? Just curious. What would you put list down to as a planetary energy?
Writing, list. You're writing a list.
Yeah.
List. Yeah. List.
Writing a list, I would put it down as a very Virgoan mercurial type of task.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you look at Rex Bill's book and you look at lists, it says Jupiter. Interesting. So I sort of question that, and I've written, well, it's not, to me it's Jupiter, but it's Mercury and Saturn, because weighting is definitely Saturn. But so I put Mercury in there as well. So what I'm saying is don't always have to listen to good old Rexy Bills. And then what we do is we take these and we provide a planetary energy. So a starship, believe it or not, is actually ruled by Uranus and Pluto, according to Rex Bills. And Titan being a god, an ancient god, but also Jupiter, therefore it's Saturn and Jupiter, because he was one of the biggest, he's one of the big gods, and also gods are related to Uranus. So they're the planetary energies that relate to it. I also put together a Google search example of what it means, and that helps me break it down. And then from there, we take the planetary energies here, and then what I start to do is I break it up and I look at the chart and determine which ones are going to actually have influence. Now, in this process, and I'm going to use number 7 as an example for me, and then I'm going to hand it over to these guys. And one of the things you'll notice I focused on was, yes, there's a definite Venus midheaven conjunction. It's really strong. But remember, Venus on its own is fairly weak. But when you give it an aspect, for example, it's a little bit wide to say it's a square to Uranus there, but it's pretty close. It's within 2 degrees. With this sort of thing, when it's really exact, so in other words, if that was 4 and 4, then that Uranus would have a massive effect on it. But in this case, it's still a bit weakened. The strongest one it has is this Jupiter, because it's nearly exact, even though it's only a 30-degree aspect, because it's still running as a polarity here, and it's also in an aspect to the midheaven itself. So to me, Venus and Jupiter are going to have an influence. I look at the ruler of the midheaven, which is really important, and that is Mercury. Mercury is in Cancer. Mercury, therefore, is ruled by the moon. The moon is in Gemini, so they're actually in mutual reception because the moon is in a sign ruled by Mercury. So this moon Mercury is going backwards and forwards, and we're going to have a fairly strong lunar and mercurial influence here that has aspect or rulership over the midheaven. Excuse me. So neither of these are in degree aspect to the midheaven, so their influence is not quite as strong. If this was Mars very closely conjunct the moon and Mercury was ruled by the moon and ruling the midheaven, then that Mars would have a very big influence. That's how I'd read it. But in this case, it's not necessarily how it's working. This one, to me, is like most of these races today, because of the way everything lines up, will not be easy to pick a winner. But if I had to look at this, I would say we're going to have a very strong Venus. There will be an element of Jupiter. There will also be an element of Pluto because that's opposing here. There'll also be an element of Uranus because it's in a square aspect. And you'll also possibly even have a little bit of a Neptunian influence because they're all, by degree, the midheaven is going to approach and hit all those 4-degree points not long after the race starts. So therefore, I look at the horse itself, the race itself, and I would look for a horse that's associated to, and that's why I've sort of highlighted some in yellow. This is the Uranus, Pluto, Jupiter sort of 4-degree component coming into it. Saturn's added in, but it's really just an overall influence because it's to do with ancient gods being Titan. But overall, it's this is definitely Uranus, Pluto, and Jupiter. But if I'm looking down, I'm looking for Venus, Wally World. Now, this is an arguable factor. So Wally World is, as it says here, it refers to the fictional amusement park in the 1983 comedy National Lampoons. We all go, we're going to Wally World. But it's also a slang nickname for Walmart, which is a shop. So the interesting thing is it's a movie, but it's also a bit of a cult, iconic figure, which is very much Uranus, Neptune, and Venus because it's a fun place. I could possibly even add Jupiter in because it's a fun location to go to. You could also possibly add the moon in it because if it relates to Walmart, which is a shopping, what do you call it? What do you call it? A shop,
Mall.
a mall. Yeah, it's a shop. It's a department store.
There you
So,
go.
and I knew I was getting there eventually. So, but therefore, there's a lot of potential planetary energies associated to this. When I add it all up, though, there is a definite theme of fun, which is Venus, which is on the midheaven. We're talking about publicly known, which is the moon, because we've got the relationship there. The sun, because it's a place where it's a movie. It's got actors. It's iconic, which icons are sort of the sun. And it's Uranus and Neptune because it's a theme park. It's got, you could even say that Mars is even involved in some ways because it's a theme park. But it's a very hard one to interpret into an astrological group of planets. That's my point. But it's definitely an influence because there's a blending of energies which are all associated to what's strong in that chart. All right. Yinza, which is actually a slang for a native resident of Pittsburgh, I thought, well, slang, according to here, good old Rex, is associated to Mercury with Pluto, believe it or not. But if you're a resident of a place, then you're actually also quite associated to being part of the community, which would also make that moon. And Pittsburgh, according to good old Rex Bills, is ruled by Cancer as a town, as a city. So therefore, that brings the moon into it. Slap in the face, it's a slap in the face is to basically be rejected, and a rejection of any kind or be pushed back is also, if you wanted to take that literally, a slap in the face would be Mars, someone hitting you, striking out. So you could even add Mars to it if you wanted to, but because it's a term, and the term is a slap in the face has its own meaning, which is unexpected shock, I've just been rejected. Rejection is definitely Saturn and Uranus together. To daunt someone is Saturn. And Candy Town was these are why I've highlighted in yellow, because these are the Venusian type of horses of this race. Candy Town. So that's Venus and Jupiter. That definitely brings in those two. The other thing that it does is you've got the moon and Mercury, because a town is definitely about a community as well, and the public, which is associated. Towns are actually Jupiter. So, but I put in moon and Mercury because it's an underlying influence, and the moon and Mercury, remember, are in mutual reception, ruling the midheaven. So this one here brings up what I call a fairly strong combination of those planets we were talking about. That's what I'd be looking for. When I go to Plenza is a surname that's mostly predominant, refers to Jean. I'm sure that's how you say it. Jean Plenza, an internationally celebrated Catalan visual artist and sculptor, best known for monumental public installations. So they explore humanity, spirituality, and inner introspection through colossal sculptures. So this is a sculptor doing something very, very large. Now, the interesting thing is, I did this last night, but because his works often explore humanity, spirituality, you could even add Uranus and Neptune into there, which would bring in a whole other component. But I kept it out because spiritualism is really, or I should say, the large and the spiritual can be Jupiter on its own. It's not necessarily. Don't forget, this is a surname. Surname is about somebody's. Why Mars? Jean Plenza is a male artist, and therefore Mars is the male. An artist, a sculptor, is Venus and Saturn. So you're talking about Venus, Saturn, and there's Jupiterian, there are other influences. So this one fits, probably not as well as this one, but it fits. A Ranger battalion is 100% Mars. And then we have Gurwitz-Traminer. Now this is a grape. You got to understand that when I think of Gurwitz-Traminer, I think of a wine. And this is the interesting thing. When you're looking at a meaning of a word for a horse, you've got to look at what the name means, right? So if the name means Gurwitz-Traminer, or the name is Gurwitz-Traminer, what does it, conjure up in your mind? And normally what the public conjures her up as, they don't think of it as a grape, they think of it as a wine. So this technically should be a reverse. It should be Neptune, but grapes themselves are Venus and the sun. That's what they are. So this is another one. I didn't see any sort of Jupiterian influence. I didn't see Uranus influence, which I think is really strong because it's a square to Venus. So I didn't highlight it. I thought it's a possibility, but we can look at it. And then you've got the three horses which are sitting in the background, potentially going to running. And Unlimited Potential is a strong one because it's one of the favourites. It's got probably one of the best prices. Wait List was Mercury, Saturn, like we talked about, and Jupiter. and then Otello, which was Mars with Mercury and Saturn, because Otello is an Italian variant of Othello. And why for the Mercury is because it was about a Shakespeare play, and a play is Mercury. An old play would be Saturn. But Otello is actually a male name. That's why it's Mars. So these were how I'd sum that up. Now I'm going to jump off in a minute, but what I'm suggesting here is when I look at it, I then go back and have a closer look at. Well, hang on, where am I? No, I'm all over the place here, guys. I'm going to go back to the chart itself. I want to go back. I'm trying to find, and you'll see why I'm saying I'm trying to find, because I've got all these tabs open. It's just going to be impossible for me to find it now. There's, there we go. Oh, no, that's not it. Or is it? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, beautiful. We're here. That's what I was trying to find. So then I will have a look at this and I will go through and say what's going on. Now, there's another important factor which I missed. When we have strong Uranus or Jupiterian aspects to the midheaven of a chart for a race, or that they're aspecting the planets associated to it, or you have the moon conjunct or opposing, especially both of those, either Jupiter or Uranus, there is a very strong possibility that the horse that's going to win is not going to be the favourite. That's what I tend to find. And Robert will probably vouch for that as well. That when you have Jupiter or Uranus influences, it's often something that's a little bit set aside. The other day, I think you and Barbie both had a look at races when Mars was Uranus were conjunct. Was that correct?
Yeah.
And
That was
on that day,
last week, Robert, when we had the Mars-Uranus conjunction and the races were upset.
and there was a lot of upsets in the races because that's the sort of thing that Uranus does, especially. Mars on its own doesn't, but Uranus with it does. So you often find that you get sort of high-priced horses coming in. So looking at this, they're all fairly similarly priced. This is the whole point. Even Gerwit's Trameter is, look at this. These ones down here are 2-1 and 5-1 and 3-1. I would look at other things, but if you have a look at it here, the one I favour the most at the moment is Candytown. It's not the greatest price, but it fits the pieces a little bit better than most, because Candy is Venus and Towns are Jupiter, and we know that the Venus-Jupiter aspects together are hitting off that midheaven pretty well. And a town is public and community, which is Moon and Venus, Moon and Mercury, I should say, and Moon and Mercury are in mutual reception, ruling that midheaven as well. So this is probably the one that me personally, I would look at the most. I would even go as far, if it's really like this, I would go as far as looking at the different horses and their forms and see how they're going. And there's Wally World. So Wally World's, it's only had 1 second this year so far, but and look at where it's at. Look at the horses. At those who are doing that, if you look at Candytown, it's had 1 start and came nowhere. It came 6th, so it hasn't been going in the best of form this year. Have a look. So am I correct in thinking that it's going to have a chance to win? Not too sure. This is the whole point. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hand it over to the other two to have a bit of a look. Now I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you guys can share your screens and give a perspective. But if we concentrate on race 7, and let's just do this one for the moment, see what you guys come up with and what you think. And we'll go from there.
If you want, I can start with just giving vibrational astrology for just an outline what it is.
Yes. Okay. All right. Well, let's do that.
Vibrational astrology, right? So it's an advanced research-based approach that uses harmonics. Harmonics says we're just looking at the aspects, right? But harmonics go up, aspects go up. There's many harmonics, 750,000 harmonics, but it provides a deeper insight to the personality, relationships, and timing. So my approach is much different than Luke's. And I think Robert takes all of us and he tries to chew it like a big fat steak, and he throws his uranium in. I'm not really sure. So vibration astrology is a modern branch, as I mentioned, and it's a studies these patterns that create relationships between the planets, Now, rather than focusing on the signs and the houses, it examines unique energy patterns in a specific moment, right? So what I put together is a event chart, and I look at the vibrations, the dominant energy patterns, and I run a program called Frequency Finder in my software. You can do it by hand; it would take a long time, but thanks to Linda Berry, she programmed the Frequency Finder, and it's works on Sirius software program, and maybe some others in the future. So planetary midpoints, and I use those. Those are midpoints. We have a focal planet and two other planets. And these are sensitive points where two planetary energies combine, highlighting the chart's strongest themes. And then I throw in some fixed stars, some of these things behind me. Some fixed stars, the bright stars that add symbolic qualities. What they do, some stars actually influence, they give it like more of this halo effect energy, right? Don't you just amplify, stars amplify things. So these qualities, bring in courage, leadership, discipline, and strategies. And then altogether, the horse name symbolism, comparing the events, I do it through the chart themes, right? I do it more through the vibrations, using the vibrations, the fixed stars. So I have a little bit different approach than what Luke is doing. I know Luke's approach. I like his approach. I can use that approach. But I throw in this vibrational. We're doing this evidence-based through the whole race season to see how this all works. And so from there, what I like to do is go ahead and share. All right, can I share, Luke?
Should be able to.
Yeah, I can share. And I'm going to go to my Sirius program first. And this is what we call Sirius. It's a different program than what Luke was using. And I run a chart, and you can see that it's kind of crazy looking here. I'm not looking at the mid.
It's taken a while to load on our end.
Oh, it is. It is. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
We got a thunderstorm over here, so apologies for internet. Is it there yet?
No, not yet.
Can you see it, Robert?
No.
No. Well, I'm going to stop my share and share it again.
Please share it again.
Yeah. Share.
Something went awry. There we go. Now we got it.
Okay, there it is. So as mentioned, now you can see this. This is a different program. It's called Sirius Program, and it's a software program that you can use. I can do much of things as much as Luke was doing, but I'm in an area where I look at vibrational. And so we're looking at the chart of this seventh race, and it's tomorrow, July 11th, and it's 3:55 Saratoga, New York. And so from here, what I do is I go up, like I mentioned, I have a program that Linda Berry has put together, and I click Frequency Finder, and it will run my frequencies. And there's 4 frequencies I look at in the chart. And so here we are, we have this, it pops up, and I look here, and I have a vibration 12, and I have a vibration 24, and a vibration 28, and a vibration 151. So hold your thoughts there, because then I got to go.
Where is that coming up, Barbie? Because I can't see it.
Oh, okay. So here's the vibration. It's right here. It's a chart that comes up that is, and see. So what are you looking to find on here? See, it has.
Well, I don't know about everyone else. All I can see is the first chart you put up.
Oh, maybe it's taking a while to show up. Oh, you know why it may not show up? Because I'm sharing only in one. I'm not sharing my whole screen.
Okay, so jump out and share whole screen.
Yeah, stop share. Well, sometimes that's a booger to do.
Yeah. Good old Zoom. It's always a lot of fun. There we go. Now we can see it.
Can you see it now?
That makes sense. Yep.
Okay.
Gotcha.
So let me go here. I have this program. I hit here, I hit Frequency Finder, and it's calculating. And I mentioned Linda Berry has programmed this. She's I don't know. She's just one of those ones that can do programming. I know Robert can say she's magnificent as well, right, Robert? You know,
She's very knowledgeable.
you're very knowledgeable. So she's done this program, and so here's we have vibrations, and they're called harmonics as well. So we have vibration 12, 24, 28, and 151. So then what I would do from there, I want to go over to here and see, this is a little bit more work than you got to put in. So you got to put in the 12th harmonic, and then I would put in the 24th harmonic, and then I would put in the 28th harmonic, and then I got to put in the 151, the high one. And then
Yep.
from there, I say, okay, and it gives me my charts. So here's my first chart, the 12th harmonic, the 24th harmonic, and you can see they get kind of crazy.
Yep.
Yep. And so then what I want to do is stop shear and go to shear and see where I can put this here. Where is it going to be? I hope I can find it now, because dang. Can you see my screen with my,
Yes.
okay, with my PowerPoint? PowerPoint?
We hope so. It's got a blue area around the outside.
Yeah, it's a PowerPoint.
Yep.
It is a PowerPoint. Magnificent. Okay, so I just showed you how I went and got these this frequency finder and got the vibrations to the race 7. And here is the chart. It's much different than what Luke's is, so from here, this is just the chart. So from there, what I want to do now is for each chart, and I didn't put each chart in here. If I went back, I made a chart for 12, I made a chart for 28, and I made a chart for 24 and 151. So then from each one, so the 12th harmonic, what I would do is I go in and I pick out what we call the midpoint focals points, and I find the highest one. Here's the chart for the 12th harmonic. This is the sun, this is the focal point. Then there's Neptune conjunct Pluto at 01. And then I would could take this Neptune, but just anything under 15, I would grab and put in. So I would take Neptune, Uranus conjunct Pluto, 14. I might even go over here and take the Venus, Moon, and Mercury. And then the same for the 24th, I go here, take the O2, the sun, Neptune, Pluto. And then I can go to Neptune, Mercury, and Venus and grab that one. So I grab these out of here. And the same with the 28th. I go, now look, oh, this is a very nice one, O2, sun, Neptune, Pluto. And I go over here and I go, oh, the moon has a couple of them, and I grab these. And then that's for there. And then the 151, the same thing, I go and grab. So then what do I do from there? But put in those, for each vibration, they have a meaning. And for the 12th vibration, it was communicator or innovator. That's what that means. You're more of a communicator, innovator. You're strategically quick thinking, originator. And the 24th is more quiet. It's strength. It's hidden resources, patient, steady support. And the V28 is discipline and endurance and persistence and focus and resilience and under pressure. And the 151 is more of a visionary decoder, insight, pattern, and recognition and unconventional solutions. Then I add these midpoints, and I took actually here for the 151, the 428, and the V24 and the 12, the much stronger ones, the most closer ones that had the strongest ones, and I put them in. And then I also put in some fixed stars. And I look at Mercury, and these are the stars that were what we call conjunct. We say the star is very close when orbed together with a fixed star, which can, like I mentioned, amplify that particular planet. And so Mercury went Castor, was close at 53, strategy and intelligence and communication. Mars went Aldebaran, it's courage, leadership, competitive success. And then we have Saturn went Alpharets. And here, discipline and perseverance. And so then what do I do from there? I get a chart theme, and I might have to go up. Chart theme is to repeat the sun, what happens. Neptune and Pluto midpoints emphasize the hidden strength, the strategic timing, and powerful undercurrents. Uranus, Mars, Neptune adds that potential for surprising move or unexpected outcome. And the fixed stars reinforce it in intelligence and courage and discipline. Okay, and so there's a little bit more. And so the goals is just to basically identify all these symbolisms and put them together, right? I'm gonna move this up here. Okay, so what I come to my dynamic themes now. I have there's hidden strengths in this race and strategic timing, discipline, endurance, and patience, intelligent over raw speed, and potential for surprise outcome. So my symbolic horses matches, and they match to the vibrations. They match to the vibration of the event chart. Now, let me just stop there. In these races we were looking at today, there was 13 horses in each race, sometimes 10. I would have had to have put in 50 horses today, and that would have been a lot of vibrations to run. So in this case, for showing this particular one, I just did the event. That's the time of the race, which works out well as well. So my symbolic horses here would be Otello, strategy, patience, intelligent. The unit economics, GB, analytical, calculated execution. And then number 12, unlimited potential, hidden strengths and emerges. And weightless, surprise contender. This is your surprise contender when you have somebody that just comes from out of nowhere. And then Yinser, persistence and resilience. So my takeaways is an event chart favors a horse that wins through strategy, patience, hidden strengths, rather than early speed or obvious dominance. And so what I would do with this now is I would get back with Luke and get back with Robert, and we then put all our three heads together, and we see what we pick. And that's how I do my analysis. And each one, I've done each race. I can go on to the next one, but that's how I've done my analysis of it. And I do more when these are just kind of like maiden races. They're in between. When I did the Derby and the Preakness, I added in all the horses, and I added the event chart. For this presentation, I'm just giving you a demonstration how it's done. So when I would do against the horses that went the chart, and you do them each individually, it comes out with a little bit different analysis. But I wanted to show you how this is run. I can also add the jockey, and then you get the jockey, the horse, and the event, and then you get that piece of pie, sliver piece of pie, and then you put them all together to get your analysis. And that's
so Barbie, are you sort of saying that that sort of level, okay, so let's just say that sort of level of analysis to run one race with a chance of winning is a lot of time invested in trying to win something. Unless you've got lots of money and you don't really care if you lose, and you can put a lot on, then it's not really worth your time, in inverted commas, other than perhaps doing all that level of analysis on deeper level of analysis on, say, some of the big races.
That's correct. And also to do this as evidence-based, what works, what doesn't work, and how can you might need to make some shifts. And here I'm not using any of the horses, I'm not using any of the jockeys, and so I've taken that equations out. And so this would be interesting because right now Robert can explain a little bit more because he's the horse guru, and he's our bookie in New York. No, no, take that out. Cut. No, he's our man in New York, and he knows a little bit more about what is in between before we get to the next races where we really need to put some time in. And yeah.
So what we will be doing down the track, and I'll be sort of timing it this way. I'm still contemplating. I might do another small workshop leading up to the Breeders' Cup. So anyone who's watching this that wants to go, okay, I'm going to attend that. That might be a bit of time and organisation that I have to put into it. So that'll probably be a paid workshop, same as I did with my activities involving risk. But the idea of it is to try and pull all that together and try and time that around that sort of end of October period. The thing that may influence that and may stop it is because I've got a daughter who's pregnant and about to have a baby in October, and there may be things that I'm called away to have to do. but I will probably, if I'm going to commit to it, I'll do it, and I'll organise that in advance before then. So that's something that to hang out for. But Robert, what about you? Share your screen and run through how you see and do things, if you like. We're concentrating on race 7, but it gives everyone an example, and you notice straight away that the horses that come up in Barbie's analysis do not match mine. But the other thing that was very interesting was three of those 5 horses that came out, Barbie, are all the ones that aren't running. They're the ones that are the stand-ins if the race has a
Yeah,
scratching.
well, I did,
So
okay, yeah,
yeah.
so what I did was I just went on Saratoga, picked the horses. I didn't get my good sheep from the man in New York.
Yeah.
And
All
when,
right, I'll leave it with Rob. Now I've just got to. I'm going to duck out for a second because I've got to start preparing
yeah,
to go to Adelaide. So I'm going to leave you guys with it for a minute while you chat on. All right.
okay, Robert, I think I think you left it up to share if you wanted to share your
Yeah,
ways of putting it together.
it's up for Robert to share.
Yeah,
I'll be back. I think I've heard that terminology before.
yeah.
I'll be back.
I got bounced out. Okay, let's see. Here I am. Okay. Yeah.
And if you all are noticing, we both have two good Italian names, huh, Robert?
Can you see this chart?
Yeah, you can see it.
Okay, so this is race 7, and this is my 90-degree dial. Basically, it's similar to like a regular a zodiacal chart, except it's broken down into like a 90 degrees, which is like very similar to vibrational, which is like part of the 360. So it's like going down almost like to the fourth harmonic. Is that correct? When
Yeah,
it goes from
that,
360 to 90?
yeah, that'd be correct.
And so I look at first thing I look at, I like to put everything on the 0 degrees of Aries, which kind of gives me the flavor of the moment, like what's happening at that time. And I there's since in Uranian there's 8 other planets that we call trans-Neptunian planets, which are was developed by a German astrologer back in the early 1900s, Alfred Witte. And he was in the war, and he kind of like saw all these different things that were happening at different moments that you don't see in a regular astrological chart. So that's what he came up like with midpoints and planetary pictures for what's happening at particular events and what gets triggered in to make an event happen. So the prominent thing here is you have the moon and connected with um, the trans-Neptunian planet Kronos, which Kronos is the higher degree. It's the government. It's higher, the people in charge, uh, and have control. So to have something like this on the cardinal axis with the moon, it seems that the public can have some sort of say of what might happen at the moment. Also, so that's the only thing I really see here in on the Aries. But then we'll go to the midheaven, and that's when the time of the race starts. And you can see that you have the Venus meridian right close to one another. You do see a little combination with Uranus and the nodes. Like if I was to put try to get like a kind of like an aggregate of something, um, you could see. Let's see here. what I saw over here, right on the meridian, you have Mercury and Saturn together, right on the meridian at the time of the race, and you have Venus there also. And what I came up with as far as the horses, and since there's like a little combination with the an influence of Uranus and the nodes, like if I took the midpoint of the nodes Uranus, they kind of like come into with bring in Pluto and Pluto in the Aries point. So there could be like a little surprise here. However, I did go. There's a couple of horses that I tend to lean toward. Um, One of them, was Wally World, and also Candy Town seems to be very much play there with with that Venus, just going past the meridian or coming off the meridian. And also, I'd have to look at unit economics also, especially with that Mercury Saturn right on the meridian at the time of the race. Um, there was one other horse here. I think it really got down to me with those three horses. World, United, Unit Economics, and Candytown.
Yeah. So I think we're off with me, Robert, and Luke mentioned too that all five that I said are out. So I didn't have the sheet. I just went on to Saratoga and looked at the horses that were running.
I understand. And also Gertzhammer, uh, uh, he is a possibility only if this is a turf race, and if it rains tomorrow and and the race is off the turf, he comes in on the race. And there'll probably be some other scratches from the starting horses. So this is my my approach, especially with this uh then I look at the horses also as far as like what their uh or Otello I think has a very good shot also because of that moon and uh Kronos right on the meridian because he seems like he's a very important person. So it would go down to two, the three, the seven, and the 13 with me,
Awesome.
which would be unit economics, Wally World,
Yeah.
Candy Town, and Waitlist. If I was to go with one, the winning horse, it probably would be between Wally World and Candy Town.
Yeah. Yeah. See, if I had the right sheet, mine probably would have came closer to yours. I had waitlist on there, but that was a long shot. But there will
Uh-huh.
be some surprises. But like I said, I just used a sheet off for Saratoga. I didn't have the sheet that we normally get. So
Okay.
yeah. So that
So
was
that's my 90
yeah,
degree
yeah,
dial.
yeah, yeah. I know. I think so what we're saying is we all do, you saw Luke's technique, and he used the more of the planet names, and putting it all together. And I
So,
think
so all three of us are trying to figure out like which of the horses like have it kind of like going at the moment. I
mhm,
mean, it's funny. I remember with the Kentucky Derby, with horse racing, sometimes the unpredictable happens.
mhm,
And on Kentucky Derby, what happened was that one of the horses was kind of frisky at the gate and I think he jumped threw the rider
White,
off.
it was a big
And,
white.
and what happened was we kind of like, I mean, we're premising all our information at the time of the race. So when the race got delayed like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
what was happening was the midheaven was like about 28 degrees of Cancer. But when the race went off, it was like about 2 degrees of Leo or three, and there was a horse. I'm trying to think of the name of the horse, long shot that won the race. That was a very Jupiterian name. I
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
look it up.
Yeah. And
Is
then
that
the other would be the event chart would change too for the time.
Right.
So
Well,
there,
that's what that. Well,
yeah,
that's what happened.
yeah, that's what happened. And those things can happen. There's always
But
upsets.
you can't you don't know that. I mean, you already made your bets.
Yeah.
Like, and all of a sudden, like, because like 2 minutes the race is going off, and then something like that pops up.
Yeah.
So
It
those are
happens, but it
like
doesn't
kind of
just
like the
happen to
variables.
us as predictors, as astrological predictors. It happens to anyone, that went and made the bet because the bets are already in, right?
That's
So
Yes.
exactly right. That's exactly right. See, this is the reason I'm conservatively, and I'll share my screen back again. Um, um, Conservatively speaking, when we're looking at a chart, let's say, for example, this one, where, yeah, if the race was starting earlier, um, and this was delayed, you see, in this whole process, Venus may have moved across the midheaven. We could have had a change of, if it starts 10 minutes late, 10 minutes earlier from here or 12 minutes earlier from here, if you're talking about 1 minute, well, I should say every 4 minutes is about 1 degree, then if this starts 12 minutes, was due to start 12 or 15 minutes ago, this race would have had an Aquarius midheaven. Oh, not Aquarius midheaven, a Leo midheaven. So
Mhm.
it changes everything.
And
However,
the horse I was thinking of for the gold for the Kentucky Derby was Golden Tempo, and because
yeah, golden tempo. Yeah.
and
yeah,
when the midheaven went into Leo, I mean that was I mean we all would have jumped on that.
yes, yes, exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's those sorts of things because gold being the sun.
Uh,
Now, did Robert, did you share at all? Because I was away for most of that preparing, and I'm going to have to leave relatively soon when I say that, probably in the next 15, 20 minutes. How did we go in regards to the race 7? Did you give any sort of indication of what showed up on yours that may be a winner or no?
Yes, I kind of like got it down to like four horses unit, economics, Wally World, Candytown, and Otello, and I think Otello um, and Candytown are very strong.
Okay, so Otello, as you can see, will only run if there's a scratching.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah,
and
I
so
didn't see
therefore, if
yeah, yeah.
you were going to say, Barbie, sorry.
Well, with me, I didn't see all the scratches. We know which ones were scratched, and I went and ran all those races I ran and spent so much time on it if I knew what races, what horses weren't scratched. See,
Well, we
and that's
don't know if they're going to be scratched. That's the thing. We don't know if they're going to be scratched.
But also I like a unit economics because at the time of the race at the midheaven you have Mercury Saturn right on the meridian.
You talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, unit,
Oh,
unit,
you're talking about on the dial.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
unit
Okay.
economics. I had that one.
Now the other thing is, which we're overlooking here, which is also to take into consideration, if that Jupiter is strong, then you've got to remember that unit economics is the only foreign horse in the race.
Oh,
It's
Is there only what? Taurus
foreign,
foreign
horse?
horse,
foreign.
Oh,
Jupiter.
foreign.
Yeah. It's from Great
Yeah,
Britain.
yes, with Great,
It's,
it's Great Britain, yes.
yeah, he's an
And
English horse.
also, here's another little hint. Saratoga is a really fun uh, racetrack to go to. Uh, where a lot of people ship their horses from all over the world. And a lot of the
Yep.
Europeans, which are primarily turf horses, do very, very well on Saratoga on the turf. And most of them usually pay a nice number. So I could
Yes.
see like unit economics coming in. I mean, he is a favorite or semi-favorite with 5-2. The reason being, the trainer is Chad Brown, and he has a very good reputation of bringing good horses there, and they usually earn the money.
Okay. So if you,
But you
what
know what?
I'm,
Do you see anything like this in both of you? Do you see like any sort of a vibrational surprise or something that's
yes,
that's an overall pattern of the day,
not sure. I'm not sure about the day because I haven't really looked at the day, and as I said, I've
or
only
some of the race?
So,
only looked at this chart. But what I'm seeing here is the
Well,
midheaven moving towards all of these
sometimes
4 degrees.
I know sometimes you look, we see that, like one planet has some sort of like an overall say of the outcome of certain things.
I would say, if anything, we're going to have Neptune because
Okay.
it's the exact midpoint of Uranus and Pluto at the moment. It's nearly exact, and therefore it's going and it's but all are slow moving. But because they're slow moving, they're not going to impact unless by degree, 4 degrees, it's really kicking off something. The
yeah,
midheaven in this race is potentially going to just about hit 4 degrees during the course of the race. So this adds another flavor.
yeah.
I think though that Venus and Jupiter are also really strong because they're in very Venus is coming up to an exact semi-sextile. It's only a semi-sextile, but it's if you're talking about astrology, it's all geometry, and
Right.
we're talking about exact aspects. Doesn't matter if they're 30 degree, 50 degree. Where I find this would be more influential, I've found, let's say this Jupiter and Pluto were in opposition and they were exactly 4 or exactly 2 and really, really close together, right? Or let's say it was Venus was at 4 degrees, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. And you've got a 2 degrees here and a 2 degrees here and a 2 degrees here, then that opposition I find drives energy out through that point. That's what I find often works. Even if there's no planet on the midheaven, and there's nothing around, if you've got exact degree aspects and they line up with the exact degree aspect. Now, I'll give you an example of it. A few years ago, there was the Melbourne Cup, and the horse that won was something to do with the sun. It was um, gold. It was gold. It'll come to me. Gold Trip. That's what it was. Gold Trip. And at the time, there was nothing aspect in the midheaven, but the sun and moon, I think it was, were together in a conjunction. It might have been a new moon, I can't remember. But whatever it was, there was an 8 degree midheaven and an 8 degree sun. They were exact, and the sun was just about to hit. So the midheaven was moving towards the sun during the course of the race. And out of that, and I think what it was the midheaven might have been Sagittarius, like it usually is. So therefore, with the midheaven 8 degrees Sag, which is Jupiterian, which is like going on a trip, and the sun, gold, it won the race. So whereas you may not have seen, it's like where is the point of energy pressure? What's sort of probably the best way to describe it. Where's the point where the energy's going to be released from? The success point of the chart or the success point of the race is always the midheaven. So anything that's accessing or pushing energy through that point will be what's going to be your winner. That's what I find. And I find that very consistently. And as I said, it's even this Jupiter Pluto. In the coming weeks, as Jupiter move, or coming week probably, when Jupiter moves to exact aspect, by the 12th, around that or whatever it is, around the eclipse time. I think the eclipse is the eclipse. No, that's August. That's right. So we're talking about, this might be in the next few days where Jupiter and Pluto come to an exact opposition. Then if you've got a horse that's Jupiter Pluto, Let's say, for example, wealthy mine, say it was called a wealthy mine, and that's Jupiter because it's wealth and Pluto because it's a mine. If you had a horse called Wealthy Mine, it wouldn't matter where these two planets were in the chart. If the midheaven is 4 degrees and they're at 4 degrees, it's going to win. It's that type of thing. That's what I find. So, um, well, I'm nearly out of time for me.
Yeah.
So for this one, but let's just say we're going to together pick a winner for race 7. Um, Based on all of the stuff that we've described, I'll go back to here. We're talking, unit economics. Let's just read what it means because this is really important when you're doing it. It's actually unit economics is the direct revenue and costs associated with a single unit of a business. So it's actually breaking it down to to a specific point. And the economics is Saturn, but Mercury is definitely like breaking it down into particular points. But a single unit to me is always the sun. The interesting thing is, Robert, you said, isn't it Saturn and Mercury were hitting the midheaven? But we also had in that chart, in the dial, if you have a look at the midheaven on this race, it's also Venus Jupiter. I think you'll find that's the same. Let's have a quick look. I'm pretty sure I'm right from what I looked at before. Let's go back to the dial and let's move that around to the midheaven. That's Mercury, Saturn, Venus midheaven, but is that the midheaven? Mercury, Saturn. Didn't I see there's Venus, Uranus? I thought maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I saw it no, it wasn't on the Aries point. Was it the ascendant? No.
So
I thought it
what
was.
do you think of you?
90-degree dial of Venus Jupiter, it makes a 22 and a half to the planet Zeus. And Zeus is very creativity, procreation, things that are it deals with firearms and also fire. And so that's the midpoint of the Venus Jupiter. So, it kind of like prevalent throughout the day also.
Okay.
What did you think about unit economics? So, that's my top vibrationally for this race. You asked for a winner. And then my backup was contenders weightless.
Well, you think about economics and unit economics and stuff. It's about money, isn't it? Which is also Venus in Virgo.
Yeah. And so then
So
if Othello that goes back in for some reason, that's my top.
Othello, if it goes back in. Okay. Othello is Mars, but if you look at it from a playwright point of view, it's Mercury, Saturn.
Mhm.
What I suppose the real answer here is Venus strong enough to win the race on its own? No. If Mars was up there, I'd say yes.
Mhm.
If Jupiter was there, I'd say yes. But remember, Venus is really slow moving. It relies on aspects or energy from other planets. It's two planets it's getting energy from. You could say, well, it's getting a few, but Jupiter's the main one, but it's only a minor aspect. It's a semi-sextile. Uranus is squaring it, but it's too far away. We're talking nearly 2 degrees. If it was within one, I'd go, yeah, for sure. However, the midheaven is going to come around and hit these, okay? Remember, Mercury rules the midheaven, so it is strong. It is also in mutual reception with the moon in Gemini. Mercury is also retrograde. I don't really think that makes too much of a difference in this particular situation because it's about its energy anyway. So I would be looking at it and I'd be going, I like the part of me that says, I don't know about unit economics and I don't know about Othello or anything like that, is because I don't necessarily think it's going to be a favourite that wins the race. I don't necessarily. Because that Uranus is about to square the midheaven and it's also hitting that Venus and all of that 4 degree stuff here with Neptune. And this is going to hit 4 degrees during the course of the race.
Here we go. We still have this Uranus Mars. We hear
Yeah.
it. So we still
So
have with the moon there. there's definitely can be something happening.
Now, is the Mars at a midpoint between those two? Just about, isn't it?
Mm-hmm,
It's sort of slightly past that.
mm-hmm,
But here is a typical scenario of a race. It's not obvious. So what I would tend to do, and Robert and Barbie both know, let's just say is here's Churchill Downs. What I tend to do is I will go, I think in order, bang, 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 right?
mm-hmm.
So the thing is, if you wanted to put these in order, and I was going down here, my predictions would be we've got a very strong scenario with, I think, because of the Moon Mercury relationship to Candytown and Candytown being exactly Venus Jupiter, I think it's strong. The reason I think it's strong is because it's not a favorite. It's one of the lower favorites. It's not really a favorite at all. I think unit economics could either win or get a place. I think it's definitely going to be up there in the winning circle. That would be my guess. Um, where's Starship Titan? Where's that associated to in the pricing of things?
8 to
It's
1.
8 to 1 as well. See, I don't think it's got enough influence there, but it'll be very interesting to see because it's very Uranus, Pluto, and a god being Neptune and Uranus. So this very much fits that 4 degrees scenario I was talking about, and it's also fits at the fact that it's not a favorite, a bit like Candytown. They're not a favorite. So this could be the surprise to me. These ones here, unlimited potential fits that Uranus Pluto component. Otello fits in the same category, I believe, as unit economics. And you guys are showing up that Mercury Saturn is very strong. And Venus is sort of sitting up there on the midheaven. I also looked at Plenza. What was its meaning again? That was another. Oh, Plenza was the sculptor, wasn't it? It was the name of the sculptor.
Yeah.
So, and sculptor's definitely very Saturn. So that's why I moved away from it because Saturn itself is not in major aspect. Saturn is strong in the chart, full stop, but it's not major aspect. I really sort of think that, if I was to put the top three together, I'd probably go with between, Candytown, unit economics. That sounds like your dog's Barbie. And then you've also got good old Wally World. Wally World is also another. So I'd probably even go around with unit economics, Wally World, and Candytown, and say that if something like Otello you know, or Gurwitz, because Gurwitz Traminer might be the next one to run, and it's also Venus, Sun, Neptune. Because don't forget, Neptune is the strong planet between that Uranus and Pluto, and it's wine. This also could be the ring in. So ring ins could be this one, Otello, or Starship Titan, even. And what I tend to do, and I don't have time to do it now, is I might even have a look at some of the races before, because this is race 7. Have a look at if there's a theme of a particular planetary energy that's coming through and winning. So this is, sometimes before you go and place a bet, have a look at there's something that seems to be overriding for the day. That's another thing to consider. But look, my guess on this one would probably be either Candytown, Wally World, or unit economics. Do I say run out and put it on a trifecta? You can, but I'm fairly consistently getting first, second, and fourth. So it doesn't necessarily always work for me, but I do it sometimes.
Barbie,
You
what
know,
do you come up with Starship Titan
Titan.
with your vibration?
What does it come up vibrationally, Barbie? Is that what you're saying?
No, that's Robert asking. Oh, the vibration with
Yeah.
what Starship?
Yes.
I don't. I know. I only ran the ones that would come out.
Okay.
I have to go back in my paperwork and look, and see what I have for Starship. And
Okay.
I'll look at it while you do something else.
All right. Well, look, Personally,
Okay.
I have to run.
Yeah.
Literally, I have to get out the door. Now, I could see if I can leave the hosting with you guys to do. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. Can I
No,
make?
I think we're all good, right?
Yeah, we're
Yep.
fine.
Yeah.
Barbie, can you send me all your work for the other races, please?
Sure did.
All
Okay.
right.
Okay.
Now, Roz, has this been helpful? Not sure if
Yeah, no, it's been great actually. Yeah, I've
it's.
really
I mean, look, I'm glad you can
I've
follow because
enjoyed
we can
it.
be.
I look forward to studying the charts a bit better and maybe watching the race if it's I don't know what time is it our time.
Yeah.
I think it'll be pretty early in the morning our time.
Oh well,
Yeah.
maybe I'll just watch it delayed.
Well,
Yeah.
if the last three races, you'll be getting up.
What was that? Sorry, Robert.
If you watch like the ninth, the 10th, and the 11th race,
Yep.
where were you located in Australia?
I'm in Sydney. I'm in Sydney. I'm a bit of a night owl, so if it's 1, 2 a.m. I could watch it, but beyond that, maybe not.
No,
It's
no.
Yeah.
Saturday. It's Saturday here, so I could stay up late.
Okay, because
Yeah.
those races will go, New York time will go up at 5, 6 o'clock. So
Oh,
we'll
I'd
be
have
the
to get
time
up
Which,
early.
difference.
Okay.
which would be early hours of the morning for us. Yeah. I mean, for you, I
Uh,
think